let's talk quarterbacks just for a minute, but it's not going to be any of the quarterbacks we've been talking about recently. I have been coming around to the quarterbacks everyone has been liking. Like, finally, I see what other people are intrigued with Trey Lance. And I definitely see why people like Mac Jones. I'm a little bit more down on Justin Fields and other people, but I think we all can agree on his strengths. I mean, the dude has a lot of them. So I get it. You are sort of on the other path. Like, you're going back to the people that I was on earlier, and you are now sort of Kellen Mond is growing on you, is what you've told me. So
yeah,
I don't know if that's the right way to phrase it, but what's your thought process here?
So I wouldn't say he's growing on me, because I think from the time I've kind of been with this consistency that he's a top 50 pick, he's a second round pick for sure, and he would be awesome. This was when the Niners were at 12. I thought, well, if the 5 quarterbacks go, Kellen Mond at 43 would be incredible value. I've always felt that way. I still think you're nuts for having him over Justin Fields. I think Chris Sims is nuts for having him over Justin Fields. But that's just the way I feel about it. Even Trey Lance. But here's the thing with Kellen Mond. I'm starting to hear arguments for these quarterbacks, whether it's for Mac Jones, whether it's for Trey Lance, even in some cases Justin Fields, that I think you can really make for Kellen Mond. Like, everyone always makes the upside argument. Kellen Mond has as much physical talent. I mean, I would say Trey Lance, Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence are the 3 maxed out prospects in terms of physical talent. I would say if those guys are a 10 in terms of physical talent, Kellen Mond's a 9. Like, forget the stiffness or how high he holds the ball.
I agree.
This guy runs a 4.6 or 4.5 40, and he has a really, really, really strong arm. So that's one thing. The second thing is I think what's happened to Kellen.
You could say he's more athletic than Zach Wilson, who's a hell of a player.
I think he has a bigger arm, just in terms of power. He has more power in his arm than Zach Wilson.
In terms of arm power and 40 time, I mean, he's right there. So I'm not saying he's better than Zach Wilson, although I am saying he's better than Zach Wilson. Yeah, exactly. So I'm just saying, Kellen Mond, he's right there in the ballpark with these guys.
In terms of just raw physical tools. Yeah. And I think the one thing that's happened to Kellen Mond is, and then the other argument, before I get to that, the other argument we hear with Trey Lance and Mac Jones is pro-style offense. This guy started for Jimbo Fisher for basically 3 years, more than about 3.5 years. He started for Jimbo Fisher. I remember when Jameis Winston was coming out. Grant, what did they say about that offense?
Pro-style.
And when you watch the offense, are those concepts pro-style? Yes.
No question about it. Absolutely. Yes.
Okay, so that's the other argument. So if we make the ceiling argument for Lance and Fields, and I think Fields is better than Mond, I also think Lance is better than Mond, but if we make the ceiling argument, we can make the ceiling argument for Mond too. And if we make the pro-style argument, we can make the pro-style argument for Mond. So then I was wondering, I was like, why are people so low on Mond? Especially because his last season was good. They went 9-1, and he had 19 touchdowns and 3 picks. Like, statistically, that's a really nice season for not a very good team in Texas A&M. Yeah. And then you go back and you realize, oh, he was kind of bad sometimes as a sophomore. Ooh, there was some real ugly stuff as a junior. And the difference between him and Trey Lance or him and Mac Jones is that those guys just don't have sample size.
Right.
So what I did was I went back and pulled the statistics from Kellen Mond's last 17 starts.
Which is a fair way to compare him to freaking Mac Jones, who's older than him and really only played as 21.
For Jones, 17 starts for Lance. So
maybe Mac Jones would have struggled if he were on the field when Tua was, but he wasn't on the field, and he just looked polished and perfect.
Right. So I pulled the last 17 starts. Kellen Mond's numbers in his last 17 starts would be the best numbers he would have in any of his 3 seasons in college football, except probably his senior year. He completed about 62% of his passes. He averaged 29 throws a game, which is 11 more than Trey Lance's 18. He averaged 211 yards a game passing, and he had 27 touchdowns and 8 picks. Now, there's one problem with his last 17 games. He probably has the ugliest stat line of a quarterback ever in his last 17 games in that LSU game at the end of, I want to say, 2019. And I think that's what really turned people off on him, because the LSU game, if you go back and watch, you can make excuses for Kellen Mond. Like, the receivers weren't getting open. He was under duress all game, but he didn't play well.
No, he didn't.
And he was 10 for 30, 92 yards, 3 picks. Now, those stats are ugly, right? And I don't want to talk about stats when we talk about it, but those stats are ugly. So
that explains why he's not even on the media's radar. That explains it. Yes.
Of course, because that was a national game. I remember, and he was bad. He was bad. So then I went back and I pulled his full statistics, including rushing, without the LSU game. Okay, Kellen Mond in his last 17 starts is 14-3. Okay, with Texas A&M, pretty good in terms of record. We do all these things. Okay, so 14-3. In terms of without the LSU game, his completion percentage bumps up to 64%, which is mid 60s, solid.
Wow.
His yards per game jumps up to 218, and he has 27 touchdowns and 5 picks. So a really nice touchdown to interception ratio. And in his last 17 games, Kellen Mond, when they were
hold on. Say that real quick again. Say that TD to INT ratio.
27 touchdowns, 5 interceptions.
Okay, real quick. When Dak Prescott was a senior at Mississippi State, now this was 13 games. Dak Prescott's great. His final year, 29 touchdowns, 5 picks. I'm just saying.
I think the thing with Dak Prescott, though, there was a special intangible aspect to Dak Prescott that we don't know if Kellen Mond has.
Yes, he's great. It's ambitious to call Kellen Mond Dak Prescott, but there are some similarities.
So let me continue, because in his last 17 starts, Grant, Kellen Mond has played 6 teams that were ranked in the top 25 when he played them. He played number 4 ranked Georgia. He played number 2 ranked LSU, number 25 ranked Oklahoma State, number 13 ranked UNC in the bowl game, number 4 ranked Florida, and number 2 ranked Alabama. And that's not including in the last 2 years. He also played number 1 ranked Alabama, number 8 ranked Auburn, and number 1 ranked Clemson.
That's right.
And he played 5 ranked teams, and he's 14-3 with not that good of a team in his last 17 starts. Now, this isn't to
Zach Wilson, who everyone likes, who's 2-5 against ranked teams in his career. I'm just saying, you can make arguments for Kellen Mond.
This isn't to say Kellen Mond.
No.
I think Kellen Mond's a top 10 pick. No way.
No.
This isn't to say I think Kellen Mond's even a first. I think he could be an end of first round pick. I mostly think he's an early second round pick. That's just the way I feel about him. This is just to say the arguments that we make for these other quarterbacks can be made for Kellen Mond. Pro-style offense, Mac Jones, Trey Lance. Kellen Mond was a 3.5-year starter in a pro-style offense. Physical tools, Trey Lance, Justin Fields. If their physical tools are a 10, his physical tools are like an 8.5, a 9. It's really close. And then the other thing I would say is with Lance, everybody says his one big issue is accuracy. He can improve on it. He can improve on it. He can improve on it. Mond's issue is also inconsistent accuracy.
And he has improved on it. You can see it.
Yeah.
So people who like Trey Lance, why wouldn't you like Kellen Mond? Makes a lot of sense to me. And the way, look, we've talked about him a lot. I think the comparison that we've come to with him, which is maybe a little ambitious, but he's a lot like Lamar Jackson. And Lamar Jackson's a better athlete. Lamar Jackson's the best athlete in the world. But in terms of throwing, in terms of passing, Lamar Jackson played in a pro-style offense in college and had a lot of reps. He did not complete a high percentage of his passes in college, but he improved. And look at him now. Now he completes 66% of his throws, and he's got that quick release. He's not the most natural thrower, but he's more than a functional passer. He's a good passer, and he's a hell of an athlete. I feel like Mond has a lot of that.
Where's his strengths throwing the ball to? Lamar Jackson, short, intermediate, over the middle of the field. That's Kellen Mond's pass game too.
That's right.
And I think Kellen Mond has a stronger arm than Lamar Jackson. And obviously Lamar Jackson's a way more dynamic athlete. But Kellen Mond's a pretty good athlete too.
Correct. Well, thanks for laying that out for everyone. I feel like I've been coming on this channel and like doing it by myself, saying, hey guys, I think this guy is really good. And then I have people on there like, I just don't see it. He's stiff. Like, I'm sorry. What does that mean? I'm glad that you at least see what Chris Sims and I see. I'm not saying that
I don't see what you guys see. No.
I'm not. Well, I mean, you can see the strengths.
Yes.
I think we're a little bit more optimistic, but at least you see where we're coming from and you see why there's a lot to like about the kid.
Yeah, my point is I can see the positives with him. Now, I wouldn't go as both of you think he's better than Justin Fields. For me, that's like crazy. I don't even think he's better than Trey Lance. I think he's comfortably QB6. I think he's way better than Kyle Trask, way better than Davis Mills. I don't think he should be in the conversation with those guys. I think he's way better than them. But my point is every single positive argument that has been laid out for every single quarterback at the top of this draft, for whatever reason, doesn't get laid out for him.
I know, because he's stiff. His combination of experience, decision-making, and athleticism is highly intriguing to me. Highly intriguing.
And it's not to mention with Zach Wilson, I don't think we talked about Zach Wilson a lot here. And I think part of it is because the assumption is just that he's going to go number 2 overall. But one of the things that always I found special with Zach Wilson is that I don't think his receivers separate. and he was managing to throw into tight windows constantly and complete passes. I think Mond had the same problem. And okay, he's not as gifted at throwing receivers open outside and stuff than Zach Wilson, but I think he's got enough arm strength in his arm where I think he can be a way better outside thrower than Lamar Jackson has been in the NFL, because deeper and outside in the numbers is where Lamar Jackson has struggled. And I would say part of it is because he doesn't have as strong an arm as somebody like Kellen Mond. So I think he could be a functional starter in the NFL. His play style might be a little too conservative. For a guy with all the traits he has, he does play quite conservative.
Yeah.
He doesn't use his legs maybe as much as he should and all of that. Yes. So he might have a defined ceiling in terms of, it's like Tyrod Taylor, Tyrod Taylor has a huge arm. Tyrod Taylor has really fast feet. He can really run, but he plays like he's weak armed. He plays like he's Nick Mullins. He doesn't have arm strength and he's slow because he plays from the pocket, checks the ball down, all that. Yeah. Kellen Mond plays a little bit like that from that standpoint. But I think that Kellen Mond is one of the quarterbacks in this draft that's capable of being a starter in the NFL that you could win with.
Thank you for laying that out. I feel like I'm not crazy. I know we don't 100% agree on him, but everything you said, I agree with, and it made my day. So thank you. Real quick, I want to address a couple of things. Barry Baller says, does Fields' epilepsy affect his stock? Apparently, 10, 15 minutes ago, a report came out that he has told NFL teams that he has epilepsy. Now, I don't know that much about epilepsy, just to say that, but it doesn't seem like, I know it's serious, but it's something that could affect your health, but I don't know that it necessarily would affect a football player's career he should be okay, right?
Isn't that, I don't know a lot about it, but isn't that the seizures?
Yeah, it can be very serious, and if it's debilitating, then that's not good, but it's not like it makes him less of a football player.
I don't know why it should hurt his stock, because
I think
prior to this, we haven't seen any reason that he has any sort of, I don't know why, unless maybe it's, I don't know anything about it. So maybe there's a health concern tied with it, like Reuben Foster-Scholl, like an actual medical concern.
Right. Or like Chris Bosch's heart, something like that. Yeah. Well, it's like something to investigate. I don't know. Yeah.
No clue.
Anyway, thanks for asking. Kirk Reynolds says, trade back with Atlanta for Matt Ryan. Then take Pitts at 4 and Davis in the second.
Nah, I think the entire part of this deal is to get financially cheaper at the quarterback position, and I think that's the detail everybody's missing on. And so no.
Let's stick with that for a second then. The Niners, it's partially they want to upgrade from Jimmy Garoppolo, but we've talked about it during the season. It's like if you have a lateral move at quarterback and he's a fraction of the price, that's also an upgrade as well.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's how maybe Kyle could sell it to Jed. Like, look, Mac Jones, he's not that much better than Jimmy, but he could be. Cheaper. And just the fact that he's cheaper lets us upgrade the rest of the team. That's a good point. I've been making that point for years.